Peter Heller's life has combined great adventure and great writing. Since graduating from Putney and Dartmouth, Peter has worked as a dishwasher, construction worker, logger, offshore fisherman, kayak instructor, river guide, and world-class pizza deliverer. He has kayaked the Tangho Gorge in Tibet, climbed high peaks in the Caucasus Mountains, Peru, and Central America, joined the crew of an eco-pirate ship which tries to disrupt the killing of whales, and swam with the film crew of The Cove, documenting the killing of dolphins for food. He has written many articles for radio and magazine, and 4 books of nonfiction, and he has won many awards, badges, and honors for his poetry and nature writing. Peter's most recent book, and his first novel, is The Dog Stars. It is a New York Times bestseller and has made him suddenly famous. He seems a quintessentially Putney person in his ability to both do many things and be many things. When Peter was at Putney, he was known as Grubs and lived for his senior year in a teepee on Water Tower Hill. I'd just like to add that I got to talk with him briefly yesterday at senior dinner, and he told me one story which I was, I think, more enthralled by than I have ever been by a single person. So please welcome Peter Heller.
Wow, as a returning alum, it is just the most moving honor to speak to you guys. You guys are beautiful. Oh my God. You guys did it. You made it. It's unbelievable. I know how you feel. I sat in those seats. I could not listen to the speaker. I can't even remember who my speaker was. So it's okay. I get it if you can't listen. And I was going to make an aspirational speech. I went to the manual. When I got this honor, I went straight to the Commencement Speaker's Manual, and it said I had to do it about doing the, living your dream. And it would have been a good talk because I sort of made a career out of doing that as a participatory adventure writer. I'd always dreamed of learning to surf, and I picked up a surfboard in the middle of my life and went down the coast of Mexico and to see if you could ride a big fast wave in 6 months. I did it in a Vanagon, which I don't recommend. I got an assignment to learn to fly. I've been fascinated with flying, and I went to northern Montana. It was sort of how to be a bush pilot in 3 weeks. And I learned with these crazy bush pilots. And I got my license in 20 days. And the guy who taught me had been a logger his whole life. He never graduated from high school. And on my 5th landing, he turned to me and he said, "That was atrocious." And for him to haul out a word like that and use it on me was a special honor. When I got to Colorado, I'd grown up in Brooklyn reading Louis L'Amour Western books, those ones with the guy, the desperado on the cover. And I just wanted to do that, so I borrowed a horse from my neighbor and bought a pack horse, and I taught the guy next door showed me how to put on a bridle, and I rode to Wyoming. And it took a month, and it was one of the most beautiful trips I've ever done, drifting the high lonesome through the Rockies. So built a little off-the-grid adobe house. It holds the heat. You can, yes, you can do all this stuff. You can, with imagination and energy, you can live your dream. And I worked as a dishwasher and pizza deliverer, and I learned that even when you're doing jobs that you didn't think you probably really like that much, if you do them with energy and imagination, you can find real joy in them. And so while I was doing all these things, I'm going to go now to the text. Enough of the off the cuff. I was writing. I was writing the experiences up in stories. I was writing poetry. I was writing hard 6 and 7 days a week. What I wanted most of all my life, was to write a novel. And 2 years ago, I had enough time and money, and I wrote The Dog Stars. And it was like coming home. It was the most thrilling thing I've ever done. I can see, just walking around here at the end of Project Week, that you all are well on your way in knowing how to create beauty. And how to do meaningful work and how to stay connected to the things you love. It's really apparent. I was really blown away by the art and the movies and stuff that I saw. I think Putney, perhaps more than any other place I've ever seen, equips you to do this. What I really want to talk to you guys about today is how to go full bore in these things that you love and work really hard and have fun and joy in the face of great adversity, even tragedy. I'm a storyteller, and I'm going to tell you a story or two, and that's what they're about. Once I was sailing with a friend in Baja up into the Sea of Cortez. I heard that we came up on a rock that was covered with blue-footed boobies and sea lions, barking sea lions. And I heard that if you swam with them, they'd swim by you really close. And so we anchored, put on snorkels and masks, and we dove. I swam around in wonder. The sleek females jetted by, spun as they passed, and held me with their dark eyes. I could almost feel their whiskers. Hulking black bulls with heads like cannonballs glided past, hunting. I felt very aware that I was a tolerated guest, that I was in their house. When I saw two youngsters roughhousing, I think they were adolescents, they were playing with a shot board, picking it up and playing tag and keep away. I wanted to play too. I dove down and performed a double somersault. Triple Lutz sort of thing as I went to the bottom. It was really awkward in the flippers. It caught their attention. What the hell was that? They looked incredulous. They whizzed over and around me, and as they did, they executed streamlined barrel rolls and loop-de-loops. Oh yeah? Watch this. I took the biggest breath I could and went to the bottom, performing every turn and twist I could think of. Then added a kind of figure skater's flourish with my hand. They were floored, if a sea lion can be floored. A teenage one. They went nuts. I've never been afraid to look like a fool. You know, I learned to surf when I was 45, and it really wasn't pretty for a couple of months. I think they appreciated the effort. They roared around me like the Blue Angels. Then suddenly I felt a tugging on my right flipper. I looked back, and the littler one had my fin firmly in her teeth, pulling and pulling. Okay, two can play at this game. If you can dish it out. I arched slowly around and pinched her two rubbery back flippers in my two hands. She didn't give up. We circled in a donut. Then she broke away and described a fluid arc and came straight at me. I held my hand, my fist straight out, and she glided up and took it in her needle teeth. Ever so gently, she mouthed my hand and stared at me, straight into me with her large liquid eye. I thought I could see humor there, something like the delight I was feeling. She broke again and again circled back. We played and played. I held her torso and she pulled me through the water. We hung upside down a few feet apart and just looked at each other. I forgot my name. I forgot to breathe and came to the surface gasping. When I was blue with cold and the crew was calling me and I swam back toward the boat, she swam around and around me in fast figure eights. It was the most euphoric moment of my life. I had been an invited guest in a wild place, and someone who could not speak had spoken to me. I love that story because it works like a fable, with a moral and everything. The moral seems to be, go for it, dive in, take a risk, don't be afraid of looking like a fool, even to a young sea lion. Give everything you've got and lose yourself in what you love, and the result will probably be some kind of joy. This spring, that little one's cousins, hundreds of California's sea lion pups, washed onto the beaches of Southern California, malnourished and dying. So many that they overwhelmed the rescue shelters. Scientists said they weren't sure of the cause. I am sure. They had no food. The seas are emptied of fish. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a marine biologist to make the connection. Fisheries are collapsing around the world. On our surf trip down the coast of Mexico, if you ordered a filet in a seaside restaurant, the staff would admit that it came from a factory trawler mid-ocean. It was frozen because all the filet-sized local fish were gone. A study in the Journal of Science a few years ago predicted that if current trends continue, all fish stocks will be collapsed by 2040. The fishing trends continue. You are in the middle of the 6th great mass extinction. This one caused by us. You don't need to know that half our coral reefs are dead or dying, or that according to the IUCN Red List, 1/5 of the world's plants and 1/4 of the world's mammals are in danger. You don't need to know the facts to feel the accelerating losses. We are presiding at one of the most dramatic moments in the history of the earth. There's no sugarcoating it. This is what you have inherited. It's also a great opportunity to exercise our greatest humanity, to discover our greatest joy. Think, if every member of every other species had a vote, God would blow her whistle. Everybody out of the pool. Human beings would be voted off our little boat of a planet. We've kind of screwed it up. We can do better. We have to. And we don't have to be daunted or depressed. We can be energized. We can fight for our home and have fun, more fun even than maybe we had here. I want to tell you about some pirates. A few years ago, I got an assignment for National Geographic to accompany the radical environmental group Sea Shepherd on their eco-pirate ship Farley Moab on a voyage to the Antarctic ice edge to hunt down and harass the illegal whaling fleet. That's what I thought they were planning on doing, harass. I flew to Melbourne. I took a taxi down to the Victoria Piers. There, tied up to the dock, in front of the prosperous cafes and restaurants, was an all-black, menacing pirate ship, with Jolly Roger flying at her bow. I walked up to the superstructure, the part that sticks up, and there, in rows, painted on the side, were skulls and crossbones with the names of ships. The Sierra, the Marill, Isba 1, Isba 2. All ships that Sea Shepherd had rammed or sunk. That's when I realized that this was a serious assignment. And we sailed due south. It was a vegan pirate ship, so that took some getting used to. A few days out, all the welders came on deck and welded a big blade to the bow they called the can opener. It was for ramming and damaging whaling ships. I knew it was deadly serious then, and I was also relieved to learn that Sea Shepherd had never hurt or killed anybody, that when they sunk a ship, they did it in port and they searched it first. As the ship steamed into Hobart Harbor in Tasmania to pick up a helicopter, the port captain radioed and asked what class of vessel the Farley was. Our captain, Paul Watson, picked up the radio mic and barked, "Yacht." Vessel class is a serious matter. Merchant ships require certifications that the Farley could never obtain. "That is a pleasure craft?" the port officer called back, apparently having just looked through his binoculars. "Why, sure," Watson said. "We enforce international conservation law. I take great pleasure in it." The journey was the most harrowing I've ever been on. We hit gale after gale, 30-foot seas with ice in the water. We rammed a big tender ship, sent it back home, and were almost sunk twice in big seas. The whalers were killing under an international moratorium and in a whale sanctuary. Every single person on that ship was totally committed, willing to die to save a whale. Watson was not concerned with the law of the sea or his own safety. His mission was to make the world aware, not just of whaling, but of the crisis of the oceans. He pointed his bow and gunned it. He did what he knew was right, and he let the chips fall. It was breathtaking. The world has 7 billion people. It's covered 70% in water at the surface, and 44 people were willing to put their lives on the line to protect these creatures, just 44. But it was also the most fun expedition I'd ever taken. Watson wasn't kidding about taking great pleasure. The crew were 3 professional gamblers from Syracuse, a Hell's Angel tattoo artist from Amsterdam, electricians, welders, filmmakers. We had a long-range catapult that slung garbage. Don't worry, it's all organic, an officer assured me. In the saloon, there were movies. The biker tattoo artist had a big crush on Sandra Bullock, so we had to watch Miss Congeniality over and over. Who was going to argue with it? On New Year's Day, we stripped and dove in next to an iceberg with penguins on it. They thought we were nuts, and Captain Watson gave us penguin certificates. Watson, there were costume dances and haiku contests. Watson, who knew better than anyone the crisis state of the oceans, had an irrepressible sense of fun, and it permeated the ship. When he attacked the whaler, he blasted Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries like those helicopters in Apocalypse Now. I think that's why the tender ship went home more than anything. 2 years later, I was invited to accompany the team who snuck into the dolphin-killing inlet in Taiji and filmed the movie The Cove. You bring the camo, we'll supply the face paint. That's what they said. I got an assignment from Men's Journal, and one night, covered all in black, we snuck into the guarded inlet, set up cameras at water's edge that were designed to look like rocks, went over razor wire and hung cameras on the cliffs, put on camo, and at dawn, 5 of us paddled in to the cove that was already paint red from the blood of dolphins that were being spiked to death. We joined hands in a prayer circle. The traumatized babies that were left stuck their heads out of the water, curious. I cried. I was supposed to be an objective journalist, and I cried. For weeks afterwards, I lay in bed next to my sleeping wife and wept. The footage of that morning is in the movie, and it went on to win an Academy Award, and it's helping to curtail that practice. It was the same thing. That team of filmmakers had a better time than anyone I'd ever met. They worked like 20 hours a day. They filmed part of their movie from the air with a giant helium orca that flabbergasted the locals. They just had an unstoppable sense of fun. Rick O'Barry, Flipper's trainer, the one that invited the team in, told me, I knew dolphins were self-aware long before they confirmed it with experiments. On the TV show Flipper, there's a dock. At one end of the dock is a house. At the other end of the dock is Flipper. The family didn't actually live in the house, but I did. Every Friday, I would take a long extension cord out to the end of the dock on a television, and Flipper would watch Flipper. She loved it. What I'm saying is, the 6th great mass extinction is no joke. Climate change is no joke. We are in crisis. We need you. All the ones without voices, the ones who cannot speak for themselves, they need you. The sea lion pups as well as the songbirds. They say in surfing that you have to match the chi, the life force, the energy of the wave coming at you. The wave coming at us is huge, the biggest ever. We summon our chi, our resolve. And we need to have fun, to have joy in whatever we create. Whether we are an environmentalist, an artist, a lawyer, a teacher, a farmer, joy is what we are here for. Even the Dalai Lama says. Without it, anything we do up will dry up, turn brittle, and crumble. We need to go full bore with all cylinders, do our very best, work hard, and have a blast. It makes us many times stronger. And we need to love each other and have compassion. As fierce as we look in our pirate outfit, we will never harm anyone. Putney class of 2013, take a risk. I think you already know how to do it. Never be afraid to look like a fool. Do a goofy somersault in front of an incredulous animal whenever possible. Do what you love, as well as the stuff you don't like much. Do them as hard as well as you can. Do what you know is right and let the chips fall. And be kind and compassionate with each other and with those that have no voice. That is our calling. Have fun, have joy, dive in and lose yourself. Joy is your birthright. Go out today and get it. Congratulations.